And so we continue our big final death climb as we have stranded ourselves. Surprisingly little reverence on a planet we probably can't come back from. Though there was that one well. Can I look at that? Like, right now with my mouse? No, mouses also can't. You can't use a, you don't get a cursor with the mouse. The game does ostensibly seem like it was designed for a controller and not keyboard and mouse. Whenever I hint at the mouse controls, they don't seem to be any better. Please, climb carefully. Yeah, we found a well, so maybe we can get water going here and create a river back. Or maybe this is it. I'm a bit alarmed that she never seems to take any sort of... Careful, you don't roll backwards. Never seems to take any sort of, supplies with her. Like, where's our food and water? It's a long way. Interesting. Down. Take a moment to rest before you walk, please. How abruptly... Why did... So abruptly the stamina went down. Why didn't it just go down while I was walking? This is the summit? This is as far as the path goes. Some symbols in ancient. Can I get one last win? No, that colon definitely is in the middle of a word. Sky God blah life. Add life. Upon. Okay. Sky God breathes life upon rivers, blows life upon rivers, demands reaches. Probably breathe or blow. Those are hard to distinguish from each other. Breathes is what we would say. Sky God breathes life upon rivers. Nope, no new ones that we can solve. And here's the door that we saw in the prologue. I wasn't instantly sure that it would be Heaven's Vault itself, but the longer we went without ever getting to the scene, the more I was like, oh, is that the ending? Did we see the ending at the beginning? A bricked up opening. There is something here. To keep people out, do you think? Or to keep something in? The seventh god? It seems far-fetched. Only one way in? As far as I can ascertain, yes. Well, that's a problem for us. Did he bring a pick? There's something written here. Ancient script. This must have been cut in when the mortar was still wet. I think I can read it. Another two-word phrase. Heaven's Vault. Here it is. She said it's a long one. It's 2 words. Short and sweet. Heaven's Vault. We are here. It's a name. of an observatory? Or better to watch the nebula from its edge? But there's more here, below. Scratched in. It must be a warning. Oh my god. This is broken off. I'm scared. Okay. Number go here. You go here. Stay. Temple will drink Nebula. This temple will drink Nebula. Until all is dark. All. I was right about that part. Dire warning. Oh good, I'm glad we're sure about dark. The seventh god, that's definitely a number. Inside this temple, will drink the nebula until all is dark. I definitely caught on to that one pretty quickly. Based on the what was hinted at before. That'll do for now. Drink the nebula. The great darkness. This is why Renba's looking for the vault, Empress. Why you were. The darkness that Renba described. This is it. Whatever's inside here, that's what's doing it. Draining the forces that drive the rivers. Bringing darkness. Aliya Elasra. This is interesting. I can feel a breeze. It must be open on the other side. Open onto what? Enki, can you open it? Do you believe it would be wise to open it? This moon is dead, so is whatever's in here. You. Walls fall for me. Oh. As soft as butter. Wow. Here goes nothing. Here I was wondering what kind of how we're gonna get past this brick wall. It's beautiful. The sculpture. Surrounded by candles? It looks like a piece of rubble from the destroyed ship. That's just like a pipe. It had significance. Yeah, those are a lot of words. Can I translate them? Maybe this room will light up. The operation of this door seems simple enough. Oh, we're just leaving. Okay. She lose interest? By the goddess. I had a feeling we're going towards, like, high-tech stuff. Gesturing at the idea that this entire place was created, or it was even a crashed ship that seeded this area and caused stuff about how it works. What is this? What have we found? What if it's even actual outer space? Like, what if this is like a Truman Show thing and everything we've seen was inside of, like, a big Dyson sphere or something? Another door. No handles, nothing to pull or push. Not magnetic, Aliya Elasra. It's like the cat kiss gate. Do I say a word? Ibenya. Bless the waters. Where did all this fit?
The tomb was not a tomb. The mountain was not a mountain. This was heaven's vault.
Is it all like a terraformer or something?
And it was still alive.
Oh, they're walking around. What's it made of? The same as the structure on the cratered moon with the ramps? I believe so. Everything's gone a bit crooked. This is older than anything we've ever seen. It must be original. As much as anything can be. This is. He's yelling at me. You know what? You got me. If there's a massive terraformer robot thing that controls the universe, maybe the cycle, maybe the loop does exist. Maybe this thing does actually reset it. But maybe in the grand scale of just that everything does die and start over, I don't think that would necessarily count. I don't think I believe the idea that every incarnation or that the same people come back or anything. That seems absurd. But maybe they read about one element of it. There are robots here. Doing what? And why? They are mindless, a Brithian fool. Ants. You're not excited? That there are more? This is a graveyard. I wonder if there are players who have translated the spoken language to match the written language, and thus in moments like this they can actually tell what they were saying. I imagine they're actually saying something and it's not just noise. They probably did write out the whole language. NK? I don't know what I'm looking at. Nor do I. Though I am quite sure that I have been here before. I'm gonna pass and try to pronounce all these this time. Wait, are the ramps running from me? I can see ramps in the distance periodically, but then I think I just saw that one disappear. No wonder the gravity outside was wrong. This moon is hollow. I don't think gravity tends to work on the scale this game lets it do, but that's how a lot of these games work. This is incredible. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Like nothing anyone has seen. I imagine that none of the characters in this story have experienced gravity as strong as we have. No solvable ones. Walkways over empty space. Are they stable? They have been stable for thousands of years. No, it's disappearing. Now it's over there. Is there a puzzle here? Do you trigger the walkways? This is the mountain. This is the inside of the mountain. But what is it? It's like a palace. Like a generator, Aliya. But we are inside. I don't see any more rails. Maybe it's going clockwise. Maybe I have to wait for it. Politely. I can't tell if it's running from me or not. But I went around the room clockwise, and the ramp has disappeared multiple times. There seems to be 3 locations for it. The only threshold I can think of that might control it is that you walk by these people and they talk at you. Like they're talking right now. Okay. It really is like they're detecting my presence and pushing it away from me. But isn't my goal to go down there? Do my robot and I need to split up? Or is it just alternating between these 2 spots over and over again, and I'm attributing too much meaning to that? Ooh. This way. That's behind me. Where did it go? Oh my god, can you walk faster? I'm gonna find buttons to make her run. But I know she's canonically asthmatic. There's moments like this where they're teleporting a ramp around a giant room. I don't see any interactions in the environment. I'm not pressing cross. That's a tell. Can't let it know I'm coming. I can't cross. Even when I reach it. Across. Quickly. You can cross. You just have to press Y to trigger a cutscene. Usually both options are valid. You're gonna walk off. Oh no! Is there glass in the middle? Okay, I got across this time. I don't have an answer about how it worked, or what that was, or if there was a method to it, or if you just chase it a lot. Maybe it was just moving on a timer, but then when the first time you try to catch it, it always runs away. What do you make of this? It's central to this whole space. Move aside, pauper. NK? Eri enbas aliti. Yaki isai faredi. NK? Are you remembering something? Whoa! Sifar. Little bird. Welcome, Overseer. Tell me. Do you wish to vault? I wish Roy was here. You'd know what to do. 65% of the core is now recovered. Do you wish to vault? Who am I talking to? Are you the seventh god? I am the ship. Please answer the question, Aliya. Yep, it's always been a ship. Yep, okay. It all leaked out and it's trying to like, recover it all. Do you wish to vault? Are you absorbing the rivers? The great darkness. The river's disappearing. You're doing it? 66% of the core is recovered. Please, Aliya. It hurts. Do you wish to vault? The nebula is dying. Falling into darkness. Whatever you're doing needs to stop. The energy in the core must be recovered in order to vault. The vault will ensure continuation. Whose continuation? Yours? The journey. I am only the ship. What is a vault? A viable, proximate system has been located. A lensing singularity is available. Refraction error is minimal. Do you wish to vault? And what happens if I say yes? Does something happen to the nebula? Entropy is inescapable. The rivers will inevitably run dry, but we will be elsewhere. The Overseer must answer the question. Do we vault? Walk away. This miserable ship wants your assistance. It is a pathetic supplicant. It believes that allowing the rivers to simply degrade will cause harm. But to vault will also cause harm. It is bound by its ethical core to decide, but it cannot. It is an agony. I find indecision quite disgusting. Huh. Well, that's something to unpack. So it wants to just absorb all the rivers and just take off? Leave? But without the people. Right? Like, that's the thing? I wish I could have a more clear conversation about what's going on, what its goal is, what's going to happen here. I wonder if some of that's the incomplete translations. But it feels like both options are an end to life and civilization here and so on. But one is the overnight destruction of the rivers, and one is entropy. But like, entropy is natural. It's normal to just deal with a normal decline of civilization as opposed to the you know, obliterating everybody. So it seems like an obvious choice if that's all we can think about. But I'm wondering if I'm missing something. I feel like I should stop it. For me, the issue is like the rivers declining is so little of an issue that people don't know what's happening. If it is happening. The primary indication that we have that it happened was that the river coming here was gone. It's like the hopper that maintained the system was unmaintained. But I don't think we've necessarily dealt with the idea that the rivers themselves are running dry. It's not been a crisis everyone's worried about. They seem to not be aware of the idea of it happening. So, like, people have not been worrying about it left and right. There's entire worlds that are lush. Elbreth's not doing good. But vaulting sounds like a very bad idea. I find myself just wanting more clear answers. But what's going on here? What mission is it on? What do we accomplish by vaulting? What was the mission the ship was on? It's funny how I've played a few different games that have this reveal. That in the end there was a great ship. And it caused all of this. I figured that it was like outside of the... Let's see. There should be 6 of those things, huh? Around the rim? So are those the 6 gods? Each of those talking things? Because I can see half of the room and there's 3. One of the reveals is that no one ever made robots that lived here. Like, none of the previous time periods here had the secret of how to make the robots. They're all from before the ship got here. Co-opted technology. I'm right, aren't I? Those things around the perimeter look just like this one in the middle. I got distracted by the eagle, because it's very showy, but this thing that's talking to me in this little terminal is the 7th god, right? So the other 6 gods are all around the perimeter. If that's the case, then one of them might be missing? Did one of them fall out of the ship? Is that why Earth is all fucked up? In the mine, there was something that did this. That. The red symbol changing thing where it communicates via text and you can get new information every time you ask a question. I feel like it ultimately has made very little case for why I should vault. It seems like vaulting is bad. Turning it off would prevent the darkness that everyone was worried about. It's what Renbo's mission was. It's what people are generally interested in. I just wish I could reshape the power structure in some way. It seems like vaulting sounded like it kills everybody. I feel like we just wish we could have more of a conversation. But the eagle speaks from the perspective of you already understanding the meaning of the action and its purpose, and the pre-agreed idea that that's what we're here to do. So you can't even talk about it. Which makes this entire thing just terrifying. And every time that I've been in this kind of situation where I have to make a big choice based on limited information, I usually feel regretful when I do it, and then find out the hard way whether or not it was even what I meant for it to be. It is kind of fitting that one of the options is just leave. I can just walk away. Which... I don't know what happens then, like... I'm still gonna die here, aren't I? What is walking away going to accomplish? I can't leave. All I can do is not make the choice. But this very much seems like there are 3 options. Maybe I can turn this off. Stop. Entropic loss during recovery has been significant. Further loss will render vaulting impossible. This ends now. Whatever this place has been doing to the Nebula, it stops now. You are quite certain? In the long term, this decision offers no hope. Nothing survives in the long term. I'm an archaeologist. I've stood on the graves of emperors. I've wandered empty markets that once thrummed with a wealth of voices. I've seen the work of time firsthand. Time destroys every action, every idea. Nothing lasts, not possessions, not fame, not fear. What was kind becomes monstrous. What was understood is overturned. We do what we do, and then we pass on. What this place was built to do doesn't matter anymore. The ancient gods are forgotten. This place is old and buried, and you are doing harm. Time to stop. Release the rivers. All of them. Do it now. I obey, Overseer. I am releasing the core. And now, we're leaving. Okay, that speech made me feel better about my choice. That I was not sure if I knew what I was doing. Hopefully the elevator doesn't pull that trick anymore while we're worried about dying. Okay, it's gonna skip out. If this thing owns enough of the rivers, we might be in danger of the gravity changing. Aliya Elasra, the sky is changing. New rivers are forming. A way home? Thousands of ways. There's a but. There is, Elberethian. I will remain here. As you pointed out, the machine in there is rather old and stupid, but it seems to me there is another way. And I do not think it has reckoned on Enke, the first empress of the Holy Ioxian Empire. You're going to argue with it? Feel sorry for the thing. It has tremendous resources. I will see what I can do. But perhaps we will meet again. Now, the nebula is connected once more. I will hopper you down to the Nightingale. Good sailing, Aliya Elasra. Miara's gonna blame me for this. I just know she will.
Stories don't have tidy beginnings. The past is always present. But the past is just another story. How we tell that story, what it means, that's for us to decide.
Well, not going to be having any chats with people about how that one played out. Okay, well that outcome, yeah, the speech sold it better, where I was like, okay, this isn't, I'm not completely off base here, but this seems like the right call in the situation. I wonder what the other outcomes are. Also, she's still there. That's weird. Okay. I wonder how that plays out differently if somebody else is... Like, what if... Could she have still been 6? Can you beat the game with 6? And for that matter, can you beat the game without a robot at all? Arguably, the robots are just there to keep you company. And, yeah, the robot kind of just hangs out and keeps you company and helps you bounce ideas back and forth and lets you have more conversation. It might be a very different game without a robot. Like if there was the opportunity to sell 6. And I don't know if you could actually execute on that, but if you did successfully sell 6, then would you get a 7? Would you get robot 7? Like, would you just get a new one? And you just continue on, and then 7, on top of asking about the other robots, also asks about 6 sometimes? Or do you just beat the game with no robot? Just like change how the dialogue is written from that point forward to her kind of like thinking to herself throughout the game. I personally prefer having a companion, but having a companion seemingly cost us Timor? Because that sure seems like that's what happened, which is distressing. That is an upsetting thing to have happened. I am not prepared to translate that. I'm sorry. But I don't know. I don't know how the logistics work here. Okay. I've traced back a few thoughts. I was thinking about how when we were in the mine, you strand yourself. That God saves you, and you strand yourself. So I was worried, like, okay, well, what happens if you strand yourself without the Nightingale, and you don't have a robot? But then I remembered you need a robot in order to solve those puzzles to get there in the first place. So you shouldn't be able to strand yourself on that on Elbereth via the one teleport you find, because you need a robot in order to do that in the first place. So I guess if you don't have a robot, you just can't do that planet. So that's just an entire point of insight that's cut off. But what kind of endings or branches might be cut off by having a robot, like Timor disappearing and so on? Like, there's bummers. It definitely feels like there are paths you can take throughout your time in Elbereth that would not make everyone's lives worse, which is what mostly happened. Like, we were not a good person to know, and that's a bummer, because I wasn't trying to, but we're dealing with people that just do not respect the autonomy of others, like straight up colonialist powers that will just step on these people to get what they want. I did not vault. The ancient engines of the heavens vault died, returning their power to long forgotten rivers, giving me 100 new places to explore, but I would be exploring them without NK. Am I back? Huh. No, I don't think I'm back. I thought there was a post-game where you get to explore. I don't know how much more exploring you'd do meaningfully, but you could talk to everyone again. I sail to the temple where the gods have gathered, to gaze at their faces in deep pools. In my boat, the souls of the years sail with me. The Book of the Dead, 1000 BCE. Is that the real life? I think that is a real life passage that may have inspired this game. Start plus. How does that work? Your knowledge of ancient will carry over. If you prefer to start again from scratch, go back to the main menu and reset the game. Yep. Yep, that makes sense. That is a cool hook to have in your game. So you're very much not meant to be able to finish the first time around. Which I guess means that my attempt at grinding was potentially ill-suited, but the fact that they enable that is something that they're responsible for. Like they put that horrible to play gameplay loop in the game for you to attempt to do if you thought you were gonna miss stuff. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I don't know if like the more gamey artifacts should exist to some extent. The ones you find via RNG exploring at the not necessarily RNG, but like the essential, the ones that I feel like random encounters on the map. I don't know if that stuff should be there, and I don't know if you should be able to trade relics with the two characters outside of a limited supply of really important ones that are like key items for interacting with them. the way the lists seem to just keep going feels like it incentivizes a really rough gameplay loop where you keep trying to get all of them, when it seems like the game is more pointing you towards the idea of playing the game again and growing your dictionary, which does sound neat. I see the appeal in doing that and having more and more phrases you just know fully up front, and then being able to reassess all of those past ones, because as we saw, like, there's a huge library of not finalized definitions, and it would be nice to be able to finalize those definitions, but the systems of the game don't facilitate that kind of outcome necessarily. It is funny that there's a whole religion built around the loop, and you are functionally looping when you go back to play the game again. But unfortunately, I think that's overall beyond the scope of this Let's Play. That would be a real rough thing to embark upon, even if it's a cool idea. So you're welcome to do it yourself and all that, although a lot of you already have. But yeah, this has been Heaven's Vault. I have some mixed feelings. I think narratively it was laid out pretty cool. I think the real-time dialogue system is a bit of a tough point, where there's parts where you want it to go faster or slower. There's parts where I wish that the characters were color-coded or had some kind of iconography to better tell you who's talking, besides trying to trace back the lines back to the characters, which are sometimes super readable and other times not. Like, the camera angles inside of rooms can make it hard to see the characters and see where the dialogue's coming from, but then when you're in the boat or other scenarios, or there's more than two characters at play, it gets increasingly hard to tell who's even talking, which is just feels unnecessary. It's a solved problem. We already know how to make it clear that someone's talking. You just actually, in some way, signify who's talking, instead of just leaving it to identical word bubbles that would work in a comic book, but work less well in a real-time video game where the camera changes and the characters move and so on, and it interacts with geometry, and you don't even know which conversation will happen at what time, because they seem to be a series of unlocked conversations that are triggered by events, and then will then go off, then will just kind of happen eventually. So just mixed feeling on that system. And then most of the, in a similar vein, most of the interface elements in general, just the UX was like the weakest point of the game. The timeline looked cool at first glance, but trying to interact with it was mostly very frustrating. If I was trying to review the timeline of the world as we had understood it, that would have been a frustrating way to do so, I think. So I don't know. A lot of that we could do with a redo to some extent, and then just straight up glitches, of course, just parts where the game's just kind of freaking out a bit that you wish weren't happening. But the story is really interesting to see it unfold. All these ideas all culminating in things. I don't know if I have the most complete idea of the world still. So to some extent the ending kind of feels abrupt, in that it doesn't directly build off of a lot of the stuff, but that's because in the way it is really discontinuous. It's the original seed that caused all of the stuff that I was tracing the history of. But once you get back to the original seed and it's still there right now, in a way, everything that has happened since is irrelevant to that context, so that ending is going to feel like it's kind of coming out of nowhere, because while it informs what has happened does not loop back into it, because everything has been operating without the knowledge of the seed to begin with. So it's a bit like, oh shit, pulled back the curtain on accident, broke the whole story, here we go. But they're pretty good at pacing things out and making things interesting from planet to planet, having each planet culminate in some kind of discovery that, even when I felt like I was setting into the rhythm of things, and like, we're on our 7th planet now, getting, like, on some level, I inherently felt like it was getting a little repetitive, and that we're settling into a groove, and that we're out of surprises. And then something pretty cool would usually happen anyway, and prove me wrong, despite that. Some of that might just be the pacing of the game, like the narrative has good pacing and that things happen at good rhythms, but the gameplay experience has so much slow walking and slow moving dialogue that it can be more rough to just physically sit through it moment to moment. Like, the narrative is well paced, but if it was told over the course of a television show, it could convey almost all of the same information, but you could see how it would happen much faster, like in an edited cinematic experience, as opposed to a plotting, walking and talking video game that often just is like, we're just gonna walk across this bridge in real time, that kind of stuff. But I'm saying that just to voice my contradiction, and that I'm like, on some level, the game felt a little sleepy and plotting at times, but at the same time, I see the narrative as being pretty well paced, and it's just like, it's kind of where those two things mix, like where the written narrative and the gameplay experience kind of hit each other a bit. But I can see why, especially if you're not like worried about a live audience that you're trying to keep entertained, if you're just hanging out and this is your evening hangout game, you just listen to music and you poke at the definitions for a while, it might be you might be much less concerned about how long it's taking along the way. And it's neat overall. I can see why people have been bringing it up over the last few years, because I think I'm like 4 years late now to it. Whoops. Because it's a singular and unique sort of game. And that's what I hunt for. That's what I want to find, is I want to see the games that really do something different, and kind of like even if when I play a game like that, even if I don't end up liking it as much as I wanted to, I usually come away with an expanded idea of what video games can be, and I have more to draw on when I think about like what I would want in one, or what kind of stories I would want to tell, and things like that. That's always really cool. I wish there was more thinking, is what I would say. The mechanics of the game don't really encourage you to think that much, which I don't want to be too mean about, because on some level you are thinking about the history and the world, and you're putting together the stuff that you are getting into a larger narrative. And when you discover something, your protagonist doesn't necessarily actually come out and explain what you discovered, so you often need to still parse a lot of it yourself and get a lot of more that even she maybe doesn't understand, but you can figure out based on the information provided to you in all of its complexity and variability. But the actual process of translating, which is the core gameplay element that you often bring up, and maybe it's not fair to call it the core gameplay, because sometimes it happens once an hour, but other times it's like the core, it's constantly happening. But the actual translation isn't very mechanically interesting. At the end of the day, you just match some symbols to each other in a lot of the case. Well, there's two forms of gameplay. One is you assign definition, and one is you match symbols. You interpreting meaning is more interesting because it's at least interpretive. Matching symbols is you literally just playing Simon Says a bit, except there's some like edge cases of like words that can contain the characters of other words, and how that can like, you can be wrong over and over again essentially with stuff that technically fit. But you're not wrong in a way that you have to interpret. The game just slaps your hand and then says, no, do it again, and then takes away one of the words. So like that part was especially not very mechanically interesting because of how little you were actually thinking, and seemingly were even able to fail. And notably, most importantly, as far as I could tell, you couldn't do better. And I don't mean necessarily that you couldn't solve it faster. I'm saying you couldn't, like, I don't think you were really made capable of interpreting a more correct answer during the shape matching part. When you're assigning meanings to things, obviously you can be more right or more wrong. But even then, the game, after a few iterations, locks in your correct answers or declines your wrong answers. And then when your answer's wrong, there are normally 4 options total, and oftentimes only 2 of them grammatically or contextually made sense, so it's probably the other one. And so that there's some fun interpretation going on where you're like, we're on the water planet, so this must be a river or something. But increasingly, the game hits the same notes about gods and loops and emperors and robots being buried and so on, that like, a lot of your interpretation is just waiting for you to finish another planet, and then when you finish that planet, suddenly you're like, oh, here's a big reveal that happened, less interpretively and more like just on its face was a reveal about the story, and then that then can go back and color interpretations that you might have gotten slightly wrong before. It's not that you don't think, it's just that it wasn't very involved. I don't know how you would make it more involved given the kind of thing it was doing, so I don't know. And I 100% accept that I could just be misinterpreting entire elements of how this game works because I've only played it once and on camera, live, blind, and I've not looked stuff up about it, and also I'm not going to exhaust all my options over several New Game Plus cycles to get encyclopedic about it, so if I'm wrong about some of my interpretations of how the game even works, that's possible, but especially when it deals with some of those extra menus, like I kind of gave up on, because I was just like, what do they want from me? Some of these. But overall, yeah, neat game. See you guys next time.